start. Hello everyone and welcome back to Portrait of Ruin. Last time we did some exploration of Dracula's castle. We found two new painting worlds. In this part we'll be tackling the next painting world. I'm just moving down to it right now. You saw it last time. It has a pyramid in it, so it is in fact a desert world. And we'll be going in there now. One thing I've noticed is that a lot of things the paintings have in common is a lot of them have moons in them, so that's like sort of a central theme, I think. I don't think it relates too much to story. Anyways, this is a sandy grave. It is, as you can see, a desert-themed painting world. You've got all your stereotypical things that you find in like a sort of horror-themed desert world. You've got mummies and you've got sand. Yeah, sand is super scary. I mean, this can be kind of scary. Anyways, mostly for the beginning stretch of this, you have mummies and also those fire wheels. Unfortunately, I did not catch their bio on the top screen, but I'll be showing that off later on. And then you have these things, sandworms. You know, fairly kind of stereotypical for a desert-themed world. You've got stuff that's underneath the actual sand. These sandworms, however, are not very hard to defeat. And also, if you sort of sink down into here, you can find an HP max up underneath the sandworm's domain. I think this is the first HP max up we've gotten. There are probably some that we have been able to get before this, but I've just missed them. They're mostly located in the painting worlds, so yeah, I'm not sure if there is one in the City of Haze. There might be, but as I said, I'm not really sure. Here we find the steel whip. It's stronger than the leather whip, but weaker than most other weapons at this level. But again, I do prefer whip weapons because they have the longer range, and now that we have the whip skill. Do we have that? Yeah, anyways, whips are very useful because you can trigger 2 hits on an enemy if you are lucky, so they become extra powerful in certain situations. And the whip also has, the hitbox for the whip also has like overhead, so it hits above you and a bit behind you as well. So you can trigger hits for these ghost enemies or other flying enemies around you with the whip, which is why I like them so much as a weapon. These ghosts are really annoying. They don't do too much damage, but they become kind of hard to hit, and once there's like a bunch of them around you, that becomes, you know, bit tedious, honestly, because they spawn in and there's no real limit on how many can spawn at, you know, a time, or I think there is one, but you know, in most rooms it's like, oh, you get like 5 or 6 of them and then they swarm you and it just becomes somewhat annoying. Here we have one of the defensive spells that Charlotte can learn. Clear Skies is, I mean, it's kind of useful. It suffers from the same issue that the buff spells do, where if you switch characters, they disappear. And also the non-charged version of the spell is pretty pathetic, because I mean, look at that tiny area. It might be useful if you want to block a projectile that comes only around, you know, a small area, but the bigger version is definitely more useful. Although at the same time, it's sort of a hassle, because I mean, unless you're gonna, you know, fight something that really only uses projectiles, and yeah, I decided to leave that death in, because, you know, it's kind of, I thought it was kind of funny. It's like, oh, I basically got crushed by that thing. And, anyways, as I was saying, Clear Skies is, it's not that useful. Most of the defensive spells are kind of garbage, to be honest. But here we find a new character, yet another antagonist. And this is the fabled Browner, or Brawner, whatever you want, however you want to pronounce it, Brawner, that we've heard so much about, the supposed master of this castle, as he just said. And yeah, he's somewhat intimidating. He looks very evil. He has this sort of like vampiric design. And you know, we'll learn of his intentions. And then, I mean, you also learn that Browner is, in fact, the one who controls all these paintings, which is pretty interesting, actually. You'll see it in a moment. You'll see him use, like, sort of painting magic. And we're not gonna fight Browner right now, but yeah, like that. And I think that's pretty neat. Like, he literally just controls, like, paintings and stuff. And it makes for, you know, some very cool magical concepts, honestly. And Jonathan keeps being all sad that he can't use the vampire killer, and it's, you know, whatever. Anyways, here we have the red skeletons as well. They have been in Castlevania games for quite a long time. I think they even came before the open exploration Castlevania games. But the deal with the red skeletons is that they don't die when you hit them. They will sort of crumble to the ground when you hit them, and yeah, but after a while they'll reanimate and such. They're kind of similar to Dry Bones from Super Mario World, or, you know, from most Mario games. Whereas you can't really kill them. I think there's a way to kill the red skeletons, but personally, I don't remember, but I think you have to use a certain element or a certain weapon to do it. Here we have another, like, bigger type enemy. I wouldn't call it a mini-boss enemy, sort of like the Great Armor or the Dragon Zombie, but it is a lot bigger than your most typical enemies. The deal with it is that you can destroy each part individually, and, you know, I think that makes for some cool design. It's very satisfying to whip its rocky arms and sort of just destroy it. And here we see bone pillars and ectoplasm as well. Ectoplasm has been in the game, in the Castlevania series, since Symphony of the Night, if I am correct. Bone pillars have been in the game since the very first Castlevania, actually. Although they pose a much less they were much less threatening there. In my opinion, I think that they, you know, they're a bit harder to deal with here, because they do a lot of damage, and you know, you can destroy their projectiles with a normal attack, but it requires kind of a, it's very like based on timing, and I normally when I fight these I just spam the attack button and, you know, see what happens. And sometimes I get hit, sometimes I don't. You will probably see me get hit a lot in this part. Here we have a white dragon. I think, well, it's definitely been in Castlevania games in the past. But basically, yeah, it's sort of just like pivots around. It's a sort of a chain or bones, and it can shoot fire. It can do more than just fire breath. It can also shoot flaming projectiles, which we will see later in this video. And yeah, I don't know why I went back here. I think it's just I thought that I could go up there, but you can't really go up there. There's a thing that blocks your progress, so you just have to continue. And here, well, you can find an item here, but also it takes you back down to the center area of this map. You will see later, once the map is complete, that this area is in fact shaped like a pyramid, so it makes sense that you know, we're in the center right now. The boss of this area is actually way up there, so I will be taking the time to do some exploration around this bottom area. An annoying thing with the El Jaisa, that big pharaoh-looking golem sort of thing, is the fact that if he spawns and you're on the other side of him, where he's not looking at you, he instantly goes down into the sand again, and you have no time to actually do damage to him. It would be nice if you know, he'd stay up for just like a second, so you could at least get a hit on, you know. But I guess that's the way it's designed. And again, here we have another mimic, which all treasure chests seem to be. I mean, I'll be surprised once we see a treasure chest that isn't a mimic, so you know, but that won't be for a while. And again, here we, you may notice I cut out. I actually spent a lot of time in this area from that save point on, trying to, you know, explore everything here, and this area is kind of tedious, to be honest. There's a lot of like stuff that can go wrong, and if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. Here we have a new monster, Amphisbaena, I guess, Amphisbaena. You can cheese it really badly by just using the second whip skill here, holding the whip, or the first whip skill, sorry. Just holding the whip down and sort of like letting it trigger hits constantly. Yeah, these switches trigger the statues to shoot lasers, but the ones that have broken lamps above them don't shoot you, so it's kind of like, oh, it's teaching you that something happens when you push the button, but not with the broken ones. It's a neat little trap. It's a nice way to design it as well, where it's sort of like, oh, the button doesn't do anything, but the eyes light up, so something should happen, but the thing above there is clearly broken, so yeah. Yeah, and again, I will probably, this will be one of those parts where we'll have cut at every single save point, because if I think about it, you're actually not supposed to go here first. I mean, you can, but this painting world is the harder of the two that become available after the City of Haze. We also have the sort of carnival-looking painting that was much higher up in the castle, but that one is a bit easier in my opinion. So this one is just kind of tedious because you have a lot of like flying enemies and ghosts and stuff that home in on you, and you know they don't do much damage, but it does add up, which is a bit annoying, to be honest. Also, in this room we'll be fighting a familiar foe. The dragon zombie returns, and it will show off. It does have more attacks than just that, but unfortunately I killed it way too fast. It has an attack where it like shoots a piercing laser that does way too much damage. It can also do a sort of poison breath, which, but it's more like a sort of misty breath, because it doesn't poison you, but it does, you know, it's kind of like foggy or whatever, and it does major damage. For this one, yeah, we get an MP max up there, which, well, it increases the max amount of MP you can have, which is very useful. You can use more sub-weapons, you can use more skills. Here we have these boulders that are falling down or rolling down this slope. They do very much damage, around 85 damage. So don't get hit by them. I got hit by them a lot actually, which, well, in my failed recordings, of course. And since I'm kind of low on HP, I'm just trying to get through this without getting hit. But there we got a high potion, which, you know, restores a lot of damage. Otherwise, we have, you know, more ectoplasm. The thing with ectoplasm is they don't do a lot of damage, but they do fly around, and if they hit you, they inflict you with the curse ailment. The curse ailment drains your MP rapidly, which makes it so that you really, if you're cursed, you're basically screwed if you want to use sub-weapons or skills. And there we collected another co-op attack or team attack. Unfortunately, I did not. I clicked away the text because, well, at this point I had been recording like a lot, and honestly, well, it doesn't really matter. The point is, the new co-op attack is called Thousand Blades. I will be showing that off in this video, so don't worry about that. It's quite useful. Basically, what it does is you throw a bunch of knives horizontally. It's very useful for single targets or a line of targets that are on the ground. It doesn't do very much like area damage because, well, it just throws them straight forward. So, you know, there's that. I will be showing that off by the end of this video probably, or even earlier than that actually. You can see there Charlotte is blinking purple. That means that she has been cursed, but if your partner character is cursed, it doesn't really do anything actually. It's only if your main player character is cursed that your MP starts to rapidly decline. Now we're on the other side of the desert. We walked all the way through the pyramid, and we have another sandworm. Unfortunately, there is nothing below that sandworm's domain. Even if you try to sink down into it, you'll stop at some point. And here we introduce a new type of weapon, like knuckle weapons, or you know, fist weapons. This is the Bagnak. They attack very quickly, and you know, if you find one that has a lot of damage, that's also very nice. We also find the Bawaka knife. It's a straight throwing projectile that does multiple hits of damage to enemies, which is nice. It does it's like pierces through enemies, but also, you know, damage them a lot. It's kind of like the Yagyu Shuriken, except that it does more hits. I think it does less damage per hit though, but the damage per second is a bit higher. I'm just showing off the Bagnak here, or whatever you would call it. Not sure if my pronunciation is good enough. It's pretty good. Honestly, I still prefer the longer range weapons because it gives me more room to sort of, you know, gauge hits and stuff. I don't want to get too close to enemies, especially enemies that can rush you. But, yeah. And now that we have explored the bottom part of the pyramid and gotten pretty much all the major collectibles in there, we'll be going up to face the boss, we'll be going to face the boss, but first we'll be exploring the top right corner of the pyramid as well, just to sort of finish that off. I switched back to the Steel Whip here because the Bagnak is very risky to use against the El Jaisa, considering that you have to be really close, and the hitbox on its arms is a bit bigger than the actual arms, so it's easy to take damage even if you're trying to attack it. And here I'm actually just going to use this as an opportunity to go up here. Or wait, no, never mind, I'm not. I apologize, I totally forget what happens in these recordings. It's actually a bit faster to just attack the Amphisbaena normally instead of doing the thing where you let your whip hang. I mean, eventually if you get a really strong whip weapon, you could probably, you know, do it much quicker by letting the whip hang. But I mean, my attack is kind of low at the moment, so I would rather just attack it normally. Here we have crossbow armor again. There's really a huge variety of enemies in this painting world. They're not all themed to the pyramid slash desert kind of world, but you know, it's still fun. The green little things down there were fleamen. They've actually been in Castlevania since the first game, although they were called imps, I think, in the first one. Or they've had different names, but they're most commonly known as fleamen. You can see them in the first game when you fight Frankenstein, or not really Frankenstein, but the creature as they call it, because Frankenstein was named a doctor. The creature is what they call what he created. Unnecessary information. Anyways, you can see a fleaman with that boss character in the original Castlevania. Whereas in this game they just appear more commonly as like minor nuisance enemies. Unless you have a weapon that covers a lot of range or area, it's kind of hard to hit them. Which is why I like the whip. Again, I'm just gonna gush about the whip, aren't I? The whip can hit multiple enemies with one swing, which, you know, is pretty kick-ass, especially if you have a long line of enemies. Jesus. We'll be coming up on the boss soon enough. It's actually right above this room. Because here's the warp, which, you know, convenient. And yeah, there's the save room right here. I do like that they don't put too many save points everywhere, but they do put them in like important places, like right before a boss and such, so that there's not too much backtracking every time you fail a boss. Anyways, we'll be entering the boss room here, and we'll be fighting the next boss by the name of Astarte, or Astarte. She is basically like a sort of, I guess, Egyptian queen kind of character. I don't know. But she fires those green projectiles. They sort of just hang in the air for a while. Basically, stay away from her when she does that. She can also, well, she's just doing those for, she's just doing those at the moment. But she does have more. She does have a lot of other attacks. Although it's like this one, Temptation, which is really annoying. If she hits Jonathan with that attack, he becomes charmed and he starts fighting Charlotte. Anyways, yeah, I died a lot to this boss. I'm gonna be showing off the Thousand Blades thing here. Like that. It does a lot of damage to a single target. Yeah, this boss, kind of annoying. As I said with the Temptation move, you can avoid that. If you switch to Charlotte and get hit by the projectiles, they do absolutely nothing. Which, you know, Charlotte can't be charmed by the female charmer. Charlotte is confirmed straight, I guess. But yeah, if Jonathan gets hit by it, you saw he starts attacking you with main weapons and sub-weapons, which is kind of, you know, just really rather annoying because he does a lot of damage. But that's how you beat that boss. Thousand Blades is very useful against Astarte. Astarte. I don't even know how to pronounce it. All these names are, you know, very confusing. Here we get the Strength Club, which means that you can push heavier objects, like that one. And now we're back here. There's just a sort of minor. Well, I mean, I'll be going back towards the Dracula's castle now, but that happened, and my last save point was before the boss. So here's what I did. Here's a really easy way to cheese this boss. Just use Thousand Blades. Dodge. Use Thousand Blades again. And that's how you beat that boss. And that's just, I really wanted to show off the boss's like attacks and such, but you know, after dying right after beating the boss, I just kind of, oh god, annoying. At least I did show off a somewhat lengthier fight of the boss, so you know, that should cover it. Anyways, after beating her, you can continue. Now that we have the Strength Club, we can access some new areas in Dracula's castle. And for anyone asking, the music I used for the boss montage was Heart of Fire from Castlevania Harmony of Despair, or Castlevania HD for short. It's actually not an HD version of Castlevania, it's you know, different. Anyways, leave a like if you like this video, leave a dislike if you dislike this video, and please comment why. I will see you guys next part. Bye bye.